Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? I'm home. I'm home. Oh my goodness. I slept so good last night. And actually, the whole trip that I was on, I slept pretty good. Next year, there will be a few adjustments in my itinerary. One of them is starting to go to bed a little bit earlier before I start my holidays. Because I tell you, when it gets dark, when you're camping, when you're out on the road, when it gets dark, it's bedtime. Because what are you going to do out in the bush in the pitch black unless you have a campfire and marshmallows? Which I had the campfire, I had the marshmallows, not together. In fact, I never even opened up the marshmallows. And it's funny for somebody who loves treats and loves snacks so much. I was really amazed about how little I actually ate on my trip. Hello, I'm home. I'm home. Thanks for popping in, Kathy. I had the most amazing trip. I knew I would have an amazing trip. I went into it having the expectation that I was going to be dazzled and amazed. And of course, it didn't fail me. But of course, at the same time, I knew it wasn't going to be absolutely perfect. Hello, Kathy. It's nice to have you pop in today, too. I just was going to show everybody some of the crystals I picked up in Thunder Bay. Isn't that beautiful? Here's one that I grabbed in Thunder Bay. Look at this. Look at this point. That's just a point, Kathy. So these little crystals, when you look at these, each one of these teeny weeny crystals here is one of these. So you can imagine the rock that this one came off. Now, it's not a perfect crystal, but it's a point nonetheless. I was pretty excited to grab that. Here's another crystal that I dug out of the ground. They just look like mud balls, and until I actually got them washed and cleaned up when I went to camp, I wasn't quite sure what I had in my pile. Now, I'm not as exuberant as I used to be about bringing crystal home, but I do bring some for some of my favorite customers. I have a couple of girls that I got into the interest of crystals. I'm fortunate for me because now I'm sharing my passion for crystals with other people, so I'm not getting all those scores that come in. But of course, it's a beautiful hobby, and I do believe that you really do catch energy with crystals. They're about as organic as you get. These are millions of years old. These were actually formed maybe in the last ice age, maybe the ice age before, millions of years, going back a ways, right? And in the shorelines of Thunder Bay, because we were a sea at great time at one time, as you crawl up into the mountains, that would have been the beach up there, right? That's where the level of the water was. And in the caverns of the mountains and the hills and stuff, water accumulated and pooled in these little caverns and cavities, and through chemistry natural chemistry, they formed, and they take millions and millions of years to form. This one I was talking about, my dragon crystal. This is my dragon crystal that I got last year. You can see the dragon on it, and then if you flip it over, the tail of the dragon continues on. This is, I think, my favorite crystal of all my crystals. This is my favorite, not just because I dug it myself, but I expect in my lifetime this is going to be so smooth, so translucent, right? Because I play with it so much that I'm going to naturally polish this. And I know that this rock will be on this planet forever and ever and ever. And because it's come to the surface with a human, right? It's here now. It's with me. It's like my walking sticks. Nobody, my walking sticks are all over the world now, but nobody would destroy that walking stick, right? Unless it accidentally got in a house fire or something. No sticks will always be passed down to somebody, and my sticks will be around forever. And this is how I feel about my rock. Maybe one of my nieces will get it, maybe a friend will get it, right? Maybe I'll leave it in a will to somebody. I don't know if it's any more special to anybody than it is to me, but I just think that the fact that it was so special for me, that when it's my turn to leave this planet, that somebody might want a small memento of mine. Okay, so last week, you guys, we had that word risk, and I planned on coming in on Sunday, but my holidays officially started, and because I was running behind and getting on the road, I filmed it all. I'll be editing. I'm going to try and get a video up tomorrow. I don't know what the topic is. Something I can edit without too much fancy stuff, too much time, but still get something up there to introduce to everybody to the trip that I went on. There were lots of lessons in that trip, and I knew that there would be, that I would have interactions with other people. I would have challenges along the way, and there was challenges. I was almost stuck in Thunder Bay for 2 days because right at this intersection of the Trans-Canada Highway and another main highway that comes to Winnipeg was a major car accident, and people stayed in line. I heard one gentleman, he stood in line with his car, stood in a line of cars for over a day in order to, right, get across. And then he finally did a Yui. He was more patient than me because I waited 15 minutes because I saw how long the lineup was. I saw that people were pulled off to the side and were setting up tents on the side of the road, and some guy was in the middle of the intersection on the opposite side of the road, and there was no traffic coming on. And I could see for forever that this lineup was going on. So I could tell that people were in it for a long time. I tolerated it for about 15 minutes before I was going to figure out an alternate route. And I decided, because I had only passed a rest stop, um, um, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour before I got stuck in that line, that I thought maybe I would make that my first camp spot on my way home, because it was the challenge to find a camp spot for free. But it was so early. It was so early. I had just gotten on the road to get home. And so I was looking forward to my drive, but it was a mishap that, right? It's not something I'm going to cry over, spilt milk. I'll do what I can in finding an alternate route. But I thought I would fulfill the challenge of getting a free spot, right? And which I challenged myself that I wouldn't have to pay for a camp spot. But I hadn't even started driving yet. But I got it done. I got a free camping spot. We were in a rest stop. You're not supposed to camp there, but everybody who U-turned like I did, and I was one of the first. And I tell you, I didn't waste 15 minutes there. I U-turned and I went straight to that rest stop, and I set up camp. I made some dinner, set up some camp, and slowly people started trickling in from that big lineup of vehicles. Now, I don't know what happened. I did Google it in my trying to find an alternate route to come home, but all I could find out that it was a big accident, and it had to be big in order to shut the highways, not one highway, but two highways at the intersection. And I could see the skid marks when I finally did get home. So I'm thinking maybe something or someone went over the embankment, because I could see the tires right to the edge. And that is unfortunate. And I'm sure it had to have been very, very serious for them to shut down the Trans Canada Highway. Also, I was informed by the lady who, when I tried to drove back into Thunder Bay because I drove back out there to see if the lineup was gone. I woke up so early in the morning, accidentally set the alarm off on my Jeep, and my alarm was so loud, and I had my keys, and I'm trying to turn it off, and the whole resting area, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, was full of campers, right? And some guy, they were a group of fishermen or something. They set up their tents and stuff out in the field. And he came up to me and he says, "Oh, you don't worry, dear. You have any problems, you just call us and we'll be to your rescue." Top of my lungs. Where are those guys when you need them so much? And I could hear giggling and stuff, right? The tents. But at the same time, it was very, very embarrassing because it took me a little bit of time to actually get the alarm off on the truck. So I was up 4 o'clock in the morning. I had 8 hours sleep. That's the thing, right? Next year, I'm going to start training myself to go into bed 8 or 9 o'clock at the maximum late, because you burn a lot of energy when you're out in Mother Nature. So I was ready for a nap, but I was ready to go at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning when it's still going to be pitch black for another 4 or 5 hours. So next year I'll keep that in mind as to what happened this year, because I spent a lot of time in contemplation just laying in the truck. Here's another thing, you guys. My dream truck, the Jeep Unlimited Rubicon. I didn't have the Rubicon, but I had the Unlimited. Amazing truck, beautiful truck. I loved the height in it. I loved the way it drived. It was spacious width-wise, but lengthwise, because I would use it for these kind of trips, right? This was my dream truck, so that I could take these trips in my retirement and have a place to camp in without pitching tents and stuff. There wasn't enough leg room. I'm only 5'3". So you can imagine a full grown man thinking that he was going to use the Jeep for the same purpose as what I was using the Jeep. I was living in the Jeep, right? On my holiday. It wouldn't work. There's just not enough leg room for somebody to use it as any kind of camper kind of idea. And I was kind of hoping for it. It was good for me. I'm only 5'3", but I'm just suggesting out there, if anybody had that idea when they watch my adventures and they see that I'm camping out in my truck. I had an amazing little setup. My couch cushions are I'm so glad I kept those cushions for my couch. You guys should think of that. If you ever see a cheap couch at Goodwill or Salvation Army for $20, just buy it for the camp cushions, because they'll beat any blow up mattress you ever had, and super easy for storage, and right, and to tear down really fast. You're not squishing out the air. It's not inconvenient at all. Okay, I'm going to be uploading. I got tons of video. I'm going to be in editing mode for the next couple of weeks. I did go camping, Melvin. I got back last night. I did 4 loads of laundry today. All my camping gear is basically cleaned and put away. All my travel mugs are all washed and sitting in a rack ready to go. Cleaned the cat litter, cleaned my bed, had a shower, slept amazing, and I'm ready to get to work. I hope you liked the video. Hopefully I can put something pretty decent together. The trails were amazing. The colors were amazing. Oh, which is what I was just talking about, the Jeep. I was saying, Melvin, the Jeep was really good. I loved the height. I loved the way it drove. It was not bad on gas at all. I filled it a couple of times when it hit empty, and it costs about $80 to $100 to fill the truck. Um, the only thing I didn't care for was the leg room when I was sleeping in it. I'm only 5'3", so I can imagine a full grown man having to sleep in the fetal condition, and lots of people sleep in fetal. I like to stretch out when I'm sleeping. My arms are stretched out, my legs are stretched out. I want to feel like I have space. I sleep in a queen size bed all by myself, right? Comfy, comfy. I like that space. But if I had one complaint, I would have to say that it is the space in the length of the cab once you have the seats down and it's all set up as a camper. You'll see it in the videos what it looked like. I had it set up pretty good. I kept myself really much more organized. I really loved how I did my bins and how everything had a place. There were a few times that I lost my purse in between the cushions of the chairs, but for the most part, if I was looking for something, I knew exactly where it was. I like the idea of how I separated everything, that how I could just pull out the food bin or the kitchen bin and just put it on the picnic table. Really loved that. Really loved the people I met this year. I met some really amazing, interesting travelers. And to have that interconnection with different kinds of people. I think I could have very easily lived that RV life, right? Hitting the road, a small one, not a big one, but a small one. So that, something that you can parallel park when you're in the city, right? Or something that easy to maneuver when you're on the holidays that won't cost a lot of money in gas, tugging along. Maybe next year I'll rent an RV. I wasn't disappointed in the Jeep, but you guys know the Jeep was my dream truck, right? And I'm so glad that I test drove my dream truck, but it's because it gave me the realization that possibly it's not my dream truck, right? I wasn't disappointed in the truck. But because of my expectations and because of some things that I didn't take into consideration that I thought might work for me but didn't, right? That Bronco is looking better and better all the time. And all truth, I think so far of all the vehicles that I've taken on my trip, that Mitsubishi or that Jeep Compass had some good length to it when the seats were down. But I think those are 7-seat vehicles, and I think those were well suited for that. I met these two young Australian gentlemen. They were so cute. They were early or mid-20s, right? And I was at the comfort station. I just got out of the shower, dropping off garbage or something. And I was parked beside him and I was just tidying up the back of the car because when I pull into camp, it might be dark and I want to make sure I'm organized and where everything is. And he was doing the same thing with his vehicle. And he was driving, I can't remember what it was. A Pilot, maybe it was a Pilot that he was driving. He paid $4,000 for it. It was an older vehicle. It looked like from the mid 90s or late 90s, this vehicle. But he had built up stints inside the back car. It's another one of those 7-seater vehicles. Took the seats down. And then he built this baseline and he stuck a double mattress he stuck on it. And then he had about a foot and a half. So really, this space, about this much space, this space here is sleeping space where he had his mattress and then enough to get his body in there, right? To sleep, him and his partner. And then underneath was all their storage. It was all their boxes and their gear and their groceries and their sleeping bags or whatever they needed. it was all stuffed underneath this frame that they had built in the back of the car. And I thought, oh, that's so cool, right? If I had my Outlander again, for sure I would do that. And I would use my couch cushions because they worked out just absolutely amazing. But if there was a partnership, right, and you needed that double, I could see that it would work out so well. These two gentlemen were actually from Australia, and they were shooting all the way across into the West Coast. So they hadn't gotten to Manitoba yet, right? And I told them, I says, the season for camping is over in Manitoba. It ends on Labor Day because of the weather, right? There's such extremes in the weather changes. You can go out to the trails and stuff, but finding campsites and stuff, unless they're private campsites, the provincial ones probably won't work for you unless you're willing to spend some money in, in yurts or right or something like that. Um, but what's special about Manitoba, I said you could still go down the side roads and just park on the side of the road. Like that's wonderful thing about Manitoba. They don't make it so inconvenient on the highway that you can't right pull over and sleep overnight if you can't financially or for whatever reasons afford the fees for a camping spot. And they're finding it a little bit of a struggle in paying for camping spots, but they're managing. There's two of them, so two works out just as good as one does, even better because you're sharing the cost in that. But that was just one interaction that I had, and it was amazing little interactions. But you'll get to hear about these because I talked about some of these people that I met, that I knew, that were meant to cross my path. And they might not ever understand the changes that come into their life, right? But I suspect change will come into their life, or right, could be both. um that same reciprocation for me, right? Because there were so many feel good feelings in those interactions that I had. Okay, you guys. So because we ended that word risk with only two conversations, so let's just take, is it the Ford? You like the Ford? It's a pickup though, right? That you have, Melvin. I can't remember. You told us what the truck was that you had. I couldn't remember what you said, but I don't know. That Wagoneer. I like Jeep. I think Jeep is a good brand. I had a Jeep Cherokee one time. It ran really really well, and it was fairly inexpensive when it came to repairs and stuff because there were so many of them out on the road. It was easy to get parts for. But I'm looking now, possibly, right? Maybe next year we'll maybe do the Wagoneer. Maybe next year. Maybe I'll rent an Outlander because I really liked the Outlander. But for sure, whatever vehicle it's going to be, it's going to have a little bit more foot room. I think a little bit more foot room. Okay, so let's get back into the conversation because we had that word risk last year or last week, and we only had a couple of days in this word risk, and I didn't think it was fair for such an important word. So I thought we'd go back to that Gina Davis quote, right? That first day that I thought that we would talk on the word risk, but through a perspective of somebody else, was that idea, if you don't take any risk at all, that's the greatest risk, right? I came very close to sacrificing this vacation that I spent a good six months planning, right? Not strict planning, but daydreaming, or when things were difficult, I would remind myself, why I'm doing this and why I can't have this because I can put it away for this. Or, when I had those bad days, I could just cheer myself up with, Cindy, September's going to be here in no time and you're going to be on that trip. And it would cheer me up, right? But just before I went on holidays, we had a little bit of a mishap at my work that made it so that it was very important, that we all pulled together as a team to help get out of the difficult situation. My idea for that is, you know, I matter. Like I truly matter. And I put a lot of work and effort into creating this dream vacation because for me, that is my dream vacation. You might think of laying on the beach, drinking pina coladas, or going up to the top of the Eiffel Tower, or taking a safari, or climbing Mount Everest. With me, I don't know. Am I a simple girl? I don't think so. I think I'm a smart girl because I know what I need, and I know that energy that I give up is replenished significantly and tremendously high through my connection with Mother Nature, and that understanding that I have to make sure that I matter. And you guys were here last week, right? When I was feeling that guilt and that shame for taking my vacation, right? I took my vacation. But the risk was that I might not have. I was ready, right? If they had asked me, would I have said, okay, I won't go on my vacation. I'll go afterwards, right? When all the trees are off, the leaves, everything's all dark and gray, cold and frosty, and nobody's out in the world to have a bump into, to have an interconnection, interaction, right? Adventure with, right? An experience with. And I had lots of those. And, when I take off on that trip, it's not so that I could be by myself, it's so that I could be with myself, right? And that's exactly what I did. And, just like Gina Davis said, the worst risk is not taking any risk at all. I took the risk of letting people down, right? In order to hold myself up, in order to make myself understand that I mattered, to prove to myself that those lessons that I've taken in order to even understand that I mattered, that to understand that I had to be full because there was nothing left. I could have pulled through, but would have I pulled through with a smile on my face? Probably. I would have smiled. I would have whistled while I worked, right? And then I would have come home, opened up the door, right? Maybe to a clean house and a cat that's happy to have me or have me home, right? And then to be reminded that, you know, I might be going on that trip in a couple of weeks, but there's no going to be colors in the trees, and there's going to be no people on the trail, right? That I truly will be spending time with myself, right? But I will be by myself. And that wasn't the plan. The plan isn't to be by myself when I go on these trips, right? The plan is to be with myself. And most definitely, I was with myself, and I meant to contemplate on goals and movement forward on the way home. I gave it contemplation, but I didn't I didn't stay there because I wanted to stay in the experience. I made up for it today. I've been taking lessons in all day, and it's energy for me. It's like fresh air. It's like oxygen. It's like a good friend that I've missed, and that's a good sign. And not only is it a good sign, the topic of discussion. Oh my goodness. Some of these ideas that I've just come to realize maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, and we're having discussions about them right now. And it's just saying, oh my goodness, what you think about is realized, right? And that is my time capsule. That is my time capsule. It was perfect timing for the release of those lessons because I've got some stuff to do this week. I'll be looking at my footage, right? I'll be grumbling to myself, "Oh, you could have done better. Oh, you should have emptied the storage." I lost my storage. I didn't empty my storage on my phone when I left, and I was on a trail and I was almost at a lake, opening up to a lake on one of these trails that I took, and my video just failed me completely. So you didn't get to see the lake. I tried to come in through the back door through a different app, but when there's no storage, there's no storage. But when I got back to this Thunder Bay and to some internet, I worked on it. It took me 5 minutes, and I ended up with a whole pile of gigabytes. And I carried on with the content that I was creating because I was trying through my lessons to mix all my loves together, right? My love for mindset, my love for communications and interactions, and right, I'm trying to add in that tight relationship that I have with Mother Nature. I was trying to rest, and maybe why I was sleeping 10, 12 hours a day wasn't just for the fact that I was waking up at 2000 or 2:30 in the morning after 8 hours sleep and being pitch black for a few more hours. That I had no choice but to doze off again and to re energize, to truly rest. But I tell you, at the end of every single day, I was exhausted because I energetically burnt myself out. Oh my goodness. Let me show you my earrings today. I don't know if you can see them. Get too close. I little bubble teas. Look, they even have straws if you can see this right. They got little straws sticking on, little pink bubblies, and they got little black bubble things on the bottom. Just they're so cute. I just love them. Yeah, so today yesterday I unloaded the truck, driving down the highway because there was so much construction, so much blasting out of rock and expanding the highways. Of course, the car accidents. That I spent the time inside the truck detailing the truck. So I think the inside of the truck, besides a quick vacuum, I might not even vacuum, right? But the outside of the truck is pretty bad because I got caught in some pretty wicked thunderstorms going down dirt roads out who knows where. I tell you though, Google is amazing. If you don't use Google Maps, I mean, who needs a GPS, right? Google got me to the most strangest places and right to the T too. Like I said, oh my, Google's got this one messed up for sure because I am out nowheres. And the next thing happens is you open up, and I was at the park entrance. Now, I didn't stay at one of my parks. I drove there, I drove through the campsites and stuff, but they didn't have any deposits to pay for my camping spots, and I didn't have credit cards. And I didn't have any problems in any of the other camping spots that I had, but because it's so secluded, they probably don't go out there very often to collect the money and the checks or whatever, how people pay. There's probably, you get some hooligans out there every once in a while to clean out the deposit box. So I get it. They want it to be done online, right? But I'll remember that for next year. Tonight I gotta take the car through the car wash because it looks like I've been four wheeling. Of course, I got the truck. Of course, I'm going to utilize it to the very best in my test driving capabilities. It was so much fun. The truck was lots of fun to drive, but I think I'm going to be on to my next dream vehicle. I don't know which one it is yet. That Wagoneer is pretty nice, but I think the Wagoneer is a lot more expensive than the Jeep Unlimited because it's a pretty decent car and it's a seven-seater vehicle too. It would do me so well for my camping trips. It would probably be the last vehicle I would ever need, right? Okay, you guys. I'm going to be editing video today, um, a little bit tonight. I'm going to do my runaround chores now. I'm going to return the vehicle. My chores for the household are done. I right up until I sat down with you today, I've been doing laundry and taking in lessons and right spending a little bit of time with my cat who was very very happy to see me and grateful for my sister Alice, right? She was a big part of making this trip happen for me and I thank her very much for taking good care of my cat. There were no worries at all. I knew she was in good hands and yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. We're not going to pick a new word this week. We might stay a little bit on the topic of risk. But I think what we'll do is maybe talk about um, some aspects of my vacation because they touched me, they impacted me, and I have better ideas of who I am, who I would like to be, and how I would like to move, right? And also that confidence to know that I can create, that I don't have to rely on others, right? That I can perfectly depend on myself. And just that idea that I was out on the road and whatever I wanted to do, I did, right? I ran out of money at the end because I felt that way because I had to buy every expensive fridge magnet that I could find from each one of the parks, and so I'm gonna load up my fridge with this year's park ones. Next year, I don't know if I'm going to take the same trip, right? I might take a few days and do that trip, but not consider it my big vacation. Maybe that stick with the bag at the end of it could possibly be something else. But what that looks like, I don't know yet. But I understand that as long as I just keep moving, right? If I just keep taking in the lessons, if I just keep having experiences, that opportunities and ideas and that creativity will get a hold of me and will create something amazing. Oh, William made it in today too. Hi, William. Hi, William. Was it a little bit different Sunday that I didn't show up this week? I don't know. I think I'm going to do live on Sunday only because we've done it for so long. But maybe we'll get a premiere in also. But tomorrow we'll get some kind of video up that I will work on tonight and tomorrow morning. Something easy I can splice together just so you can have an idea of some of the things that I've been up to. I hope you enjoyed the little bit of a adventures. I filmed lots and lots and lots and lots. So it's a good way for me to practice and get back into the swing of editing because live is so easy, right? Live is just you hit that button and just let it flow. And it is what it is. In a video, well, you can splice the boo boos out, right? You can add music over something you sillingly or mistakenly opened your mouth that you didn't need to. And you can be creative in those things that you didn't quite get the footage that you wanted to. Is it genuine? It's genuine in the attempt that I make in order to make it enjoyable. But was it exactly? I don't know. We won't know until we give it a shot. You guys, that's my good cheer, and we'll be back tomorrow. I just wanted to let everybody know I'm home, safe and sound. And the only bad thing, because all that other stuff, all those are just detours, are little things to take into consideration. Those are the things that we ride those waves, that we adjust to the uncomfortableness, we adapt, we conquer. But the fails are truly the things that blew up, that you'd say, "Oh my goodness, that just made for a poopy day, or that made for a poopy moment," or right? And that was, I totally broke my glasses. They were broken already. They were broken already, right? So it doesn't really count in the end. I'm not quite sure even where the other handlebar is, so they can't really be repaired. But I'm on holidays. We'll make that appointment, right? We're going to fix it into the budget. Tomorrow we'll talk about a little bit of those goals that I've set for myself for this year. You guys will be with me as I'm accomplishing them, understanding that there will be other things that will come across my path that will be opportunities. And through my choices, those will be missed opportunities, or they'll be bad opportunities where I made a misjudgment and I jumped into it too soon, or they'll be the best thing I could have ever done for myself. But we'll talk a little bit about those tomorrow. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. And we'll see each other tomorrow. Thank you so much for popping in and welcoming me home. You guys, have a great night. Bye-bye.